Good evening, Tallahassee. This is for FSU Weather. I'm student meteorologist Melanie Steinberg.
And I'm student meteorologist Troy Fields. And Melanie, it was a pretty warm day today, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was pretty warm, not as seasonable as I would like it to be, unfortunately, but there's ice warnings and there's a huge ice storm in the north of
Actually,
us.
that won't be happening until later in the week, going to Thursday and Friday. But like you said, a major, potentially significant ice storm will be happening along the Midwest region in the upper South going to later this week.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of ice and the roads are going to be really slick. So if you're doing any Christmas shopping, just make sure to be careful on the roads out there.
Believe it or not, Melanie, with ice and snow, it's actually more dangerous to travel on ice than snow, because with snow, you at least have that traction to go on when you're driving, but you don't have that when it's icy on the roads.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So if you're traveling along those roads, especially later in the week, if you have any travel plans, you're going to want to make sure that you look at your weather authorities, because you don't want to be stuck out on the roads and, with the travel chaos that could possibly happen with the ice storm.
Yeah, and some of the cities that you should watch out for this would be Dallas, Oklahoma City, Cincinnati, basically from Texas to Kentucky.
So travels along I-40, I-65, I-55, along those interstates, just be on the lookout for those roads. But we're going to toss it out to Ryan for your overview, who's going to give us a quick update what's going to be happening with your weather.
Thank you. Arctic air taking over the rest of the country, but here locally the Big Bend is experiencing fog as our major issue. This morning it was pretty foggy if you woke up, especially along the coastal regions. Tonight into tomorrow morning, fog is going to be the issue once again with that setup, a dominant ridge of high pressure in place, cooler water temperatures, and a southerly wind with a lot of moisture. Well, that's the time of the year for fog. But in the meantime, temperatures are staying warm locally. In fact, closing in on some record highs over the next couple days. We could see 80-degree temperatures through the rest of the week. Rain chances staying on the low side, but there nonetheless some spotty showers around the region. Here locally, we'll look at a couple of nice net cams here. St. George Island looking pretty nice, but look at the clouds lurking offshore this afternoon. That'll be moving in towards the coastline this evening as we work into the overnight hours, and the temperature begins to drop, but everywhere else looking pretty nice. We'll look at tonight's forecast, and there you go, 55 degrees. So things on the mild side, but then again, foggy, light winds, and warm temperatures. Back to the desk for now.
All right, thanks, Ryan. And, a lot of places across most of the Western Plains, they won't be seeing warm temperatures because it's going to get pretty bone chilling.
Yeah, the temperatures are actually not even going to go above zero. It's going to be below 40 below zero. So I would not want to deal with that cold personally.
And a lot of places there, due to the high, lots throughout the air that's going to be responsible for this ice storm later in the week, and that's currently responsible for the blizzard. If you're going to be outside, you really going to want to bundle up, because it's going to get not just cold, but dangerously cold.
Yeah, and the cold just gets worse throughout the week. It's not going to get any better up there.
So, if you're sensitive to hypothermia or frostbites, you're going to want to make sure that you bundle up, because, you don't want to be subject to that.
Yeah.
But we're going to send it out towards Jason. We look at your local, and Jason, I know you don't like these cold temperatures. I know you'd much rather be here in the Great Sunshine State with these awesome warm temperatures.
You're certainly right, Troy. Actually, in the studio, much warmer than I did wake up to this morning. 47 degrees was our lowest morning. Quite chilly to the start. And as Ryan was mentioning, we did see that fog. So chilly start and some fog. We're seeing kind of the same pattern next few days. High reached right around 75, though, so we did warm up very quickly as that sun did make its way on through. Those clouds did make its way, though, into the later afternoon hours. That dew point is certainly on the rise, and it's kind of an indication of why the clouds are in sight. But as of 6 o'clock, 67 degrees is our temperature for the backyard Tallahassee, and mostly cloudy skies. We'll be seeing that going to the next few days. Now, the southeast is seeing a lot of cloud cover, and the reason why we have area disturbance now make its way into the southeast portions. Did see some showers actually just to the west of Tallahassee, places as of Bainbridge and Mariana. Saw a line of showers make its way on through around 3 or 4 o'clock this afternoon. A couple showers just off to the west of Tallahassee, but nothing to worry about. You saying if you did take your umbrella, well, fortunately enough, you didn't have to use it. Didn't see much of rain showers actually to the north. Places of Thomasville and Bainbridge, it saw some showers over there. But the reason why I've been seeing these showers, and hence the dew points also were up, these winds have been coming out of the south, since yesterday morning. So we had some moisture feeding on through since yesterday, and actually a little kick up, 8 miles an hour in St. Mark's, seeing this southerly winds. So some of the Gulf moisture finally begin to settle on down the region. And once it began to settle, those dew points yesterday kicked right on up into the 60s. We saw dew points actually in the 40s yesterday, so a good indication of how much moisture didn't train the region. So a good indication of these next few days, we're having some warmer than normal temperatures, and the moisture, yes, it will be there in the next coming days. So, and the reason why we've seen this pattern, we have the high pressure just off the coast of Florida, bringing some southerly wind, and hence those clouds are going to be sticking around. And of course, the warm front making its way up north, so a lot more moisture, hence some more warmth coming into the region. And fog will be one of the main forecasts going to the next few days. So we have these conditions present. Well, and of course, this futurecast, as I put it into motion, not really much worrying much in the next few days, except warmer temperatures. Those warmer temperatures can keep around the fog at least until Friday morning. We could see another chance of rain showers. But overall, warmer, I would say, and fog is the next couple of things you have to be worried about going the next few days. Now, Adonis radar not showing very much showers-wise, except maybe all the way up into the northern portions of Georgia. Not really seeing much showers then again until, I would say, Thursday and Friday. We could see a couple sea breeze showers into effect, and then off to the west is that next cold front making its way through into the weekend time. So showers lingering into, I would say, the weekend is when we see another chance of some showers making its way through. Wednesday's forecast, though, for the boats, not looking too bad. Southeast out of 10 knots. Surf at 1 to 2 feet. And your boating looking pretty good, I would say. Just watch out maybe a couple isolated showers offshore. But a light to moderate chop otherwise. Heading to tonight's forecast, 55 degrees. And going to tomorrow, we'll be actually warming up back into almost hitting 80, 79 degrees forecasted for Tallahassee. And the next 7 days after that, some warmer temperatures than normal until we see maybe an isolated shower or two into the weekend time. Jack, though, how are things looking around the southeast? I know some fog's in store.
Some fog was the story earlier in parts of Tallahassee and New Orleans. 47 degrees is what we started off our morning with. 57 degrees in Montgomery, and 50 degrees was our low in Atlanta. I don't really expect these temperatures to be too cold tomorrow, though, because we're going to start getting those warming trends. Currently, we have wind mainly out of the south, which is really bringing in some moisture into Tallahassee, but you see some rain bands making its way into Atlanta, Savannah, and some storms making its way into Columbia. So some light showers out there, nothing too heavy, though, so mainly moderate to light rain. So if you are in those areas, make sure you pack those umbrellas if you are going out tonight. Currently, across the region, you can really see where the warm front has been. 73 in New Orleans, 70 degrees in Shreveport, but Little Rock staying at 57 degrees, really haven't been hit by that warm front quite yet. 67 degrees is what we're seeing at in Tallahassee. Winds mainly out of the south-southeast, 6 miles per hour out of the southeast, and Tallahassee's 13 miles per hour mainly out of the south in New Orleans. And that's really pushing in a lot of moisture in our region. That's why we could see some fog tomorrow morning. Anything south of I-10, I would advise you take off a little early for work if you do have the early morning commute. Tonight, though, we have a high pressure system really bringing in that southerly flow, and Wednesday mornings we'll see that fog. I think anything south of I-10 is where you really want to be worried about that. You could see some fog lingering around into the region. Got the warm front slowly drifting up, so most of the southeast will be warmer than usual, really unseasonable-like conditions, warmer conditions, partly cloudy skies out there due to that moisture coming off the Gulf, due to that southerly flow, but I think our temperatures could get into the 80s in some parts of the southeast. Futurecast radar shows those storms slightly going into South Carolina. I don't think we'll see anything too heavy. Wednesday, we have some storms drifting off into the Gulf Coast, but Thursday, you could see some disturbed weather making its way across the Big Bend region, make its way into Tallahassee and into Thomas and Brooks County later into Thursday night, but nothing really too much to talk about. Tonight's forecast, though, 56 degrees in Tallahassee, 56 in Montgomery, 68 degrees in Miami. For tomorrow's forecast, though, look at that, 79 degrees in Tallahassee, 81 degrees in Orlando, 81 as well in Miami, and 78 degrees with partly cloudy skies. Anything to the northwest of the southeast region of the continent could see some cloudy skies due to approaching cold front. But for more at the desk, we'll send it back to Troy and Melanie.
Thank you, Jack. And with those warm temperatures, Melanie, you would think that we'll continue to talk about those warm temperatures, right?
Yeah, but we're not. We're actually it's for California, we're going to reach record low temperatures.
All the way in California. You know, that is the place that you would never expect to find cold temperatures, especially in that part of the region, and could get pretty nippy in there.
Yeah.
Lows in the 20s and 30s, and even upper 20s with Fresno, California, and this is going to happen Wednesday night into Thursday morning, and we're not including Fresno, but lows in central and southern California could get that chilly.
Yeah, it's very common for California to get this cold, but it's just the cold is coming so early, much
Yeah.
more earlier than what it's used to.
You know what? I was going to go to California for winter break, but after seeing those cold temperatures, I think we can stay in the Sunshine State. How about you, Jay?
Thanks, Troy. When you take a look at our 24-hour temperature chart, you see some interesting temperature differences over in the Midwest. Negative 21 degrees in Billings, that's a big dip for your temperature change, as well as Denver, you're seeing 31, and y'all seeing Salt Lake City, you're seeing 30 degrees as well. That's a big temperature drop from previous weeks that you have seen. When you take a look at the current temperatures, you see 11 degrees in Billings, it must be freezing right now. 53 in Kansas City, and also you take a look at the south, they're sitting mighty dry. We see San Antonio, you're seeing at 81 degrees, and Dallas, you're all seeing a cool 69 degrees. When we see a satellite radar, you see some activity over the Midwest. You're getting a lot of snow right now. So you're, if you're in the Midwest, you're seeing some winter weather advisories and also winter warnings as well. So you can see up to 3 to 4 inches of snow in the Midwest. So make sure you stay prepared. Make sure you stay bundled up for that snow coming in your area. But you're going to take a look at the south. There's nothing really to talk about. You see some storms starting to come in over to the Big Bend region, bringing in some showers between Tuesday and Wednesday. So make sure you have the umbrellas and ponchos handy just in case. But when you take a look at snow cover, like I said before, you're seeing a lot of snow if you're in the Midwest, the upper Midwest in fact. And also you see some blue, which means heavier snow over in Billings and Seattle. You're seeing some snow as well. And we're going to see the watches and warning. Like I said before, you're sitting under a winter storm warning right now if you live in the greater Midwest region. But if you're a little bit lower than that, you're under a winter weather advisory. So which means you're seeing about 1 to 2 inches of snow right now. So like I said before, make sure you stay bundled up, make sure you have those heaters on. It's going to be really cold outside when you step out. But if you're in the south, you're going to see some flood warnings in effect right now. And that's what the green areas mean right there. And also that little gray area, you're under a dense fog warning. And we're going to see some snow over in this region as well. So make sure you stay prepared as well. When we take a look at tonight's forecast, you see 51 degrees in Dallas, 58 in San Antonio. And when we take a look at tomorrow's forecast, Tallahassee, you're going to stay at 79 degrees. So it's going to be nice and hot. So make sure you take some t-shirts and slacks. But more of that, take it off to Melanie.
Thanks, Jay. For our satellite and radar, there's barely nothing on our radar. There's just some cloud coverage and there's some showers to the north as well, but thankfully that didn't affect our area for the day. And this is just a warm front that pushed all the showers up and that brought a lot of cloud coverage. And then down here is a high pressure system, but I will go more into that later. Our current conditions, it's 67, mostly cloudy, 84% humidity, so very high humidity, and this was because of the high pressure system that was just bringing in all the moisture from the Gulf. Our current temperatures, it's 67 in Tallahassee, 68 in Quincy, 70 up here in Bainbridge. So it's high 60s and low 70s all around the Big Bend region. For our future casts, we have mild temperatures right now, and this was the warm front, and as this moves out of our area, we're going to be seeing more fog, and that's just from this high pressure system over here. It's going to be bringing in more fog, and it's going to be making our conditions much more warmer for the upcoming week, bringing up all the southerly air from the Gulf. Our future radar, there's not really much showers impacting our area, but you can see some to the north and to the east of our area. But thankfully those are avoiding our region. For tonight's forecast, it's 55. It's going to be foggy, so just watch out for that if you are driving anywhere. Tomorrow's forecast, 79, partly sunny. It's unseasonably warm, and that's just because of the air that's coming up from the Gulf because of the high pressure system. Our day planner for tomorrow. At 8 a.m. tomorrow morning, it's going to be 62 degrees. It's going to be very foggy, so be careful when you are driving for your early morning commute. By our lunch time, around noon, it's going to be warming up to a warm 72 degrees. So it's very unseasonable for this time of the year. By 5 o'clock, it's going to be 76 degrees, so very warm, not very seasonable, and it's going to be partly sunny. The clouds and the sun are going to be mixing up throughout the day. for our 7-day forecast. There's not much of a chance of rain here, and Friday we get back up into 80, so I'm sure we don't like to see that. Our lows are going to be seasonable. Our lows aren't that seasonable, staying at the high 50s and low 60s. Our highs are ranging back up into the high 70s, and our chances of rain remain below 40%. So now let's take it back to the desk.
Thank you, Melanie. We have a couple of things on Weather Day in history, and all the way back in history, in 1886 in southeast portions of the United States, we had a huge, big winter snowstorm.
Yes, parts of Alabama got an average of 12 to 16 inches of snow, so they were buried in if you're living in Alabama at that time.
You've been thinking about that. In Rome, Georgia, actually 25 inches of snow, the record greatest ever for that region, and most of the Georgia actually accumulated at least 12 plus inches of snow, so a foot of snow or more fell in Georgia, and in places up into the mountains, almost 3 feet of snow fell.
That must be ridiculous. I know if you're a snowboarder, you have plenty of fun in that snow.
Seems like the Northeast has switched to the Southeast instead, at least in that portion of time.
Yes, indeed. I wish Florida got that much snow. I'll be nice and bundled up with some hot cocoa inside and a fireplace as well.
Actually, also, there was a good fact. This the oldest Cherokee one of the Indian tribes, the oldest Cherokee present now couldn't even still remember a time event like this back then. So only just shows you how far back then it was actually a snowstorm like this occurred.
Yeah, that is incredible. But for more weather history, you got I got Siberia in 1965. They got the world record for the highest pressure over in Siberia. For us, for meteorologists, it's 1038.8 pressure, and for inches, it would be 39.0 inches.
Around 1,038 millibars, we say in meteorology terms. And a good indication is you say around 1,010, 1,012 is usually what you see. If you see some very large pressures, that means extremely chilly temperatures at that time, especially in Siberia at that point in the desert. You must saw temperatures dropping well into the negatives.
Yes, but we also have some cold weather in California. They had their wind gusts of 95 miles per hour. And for more on that, we're going to take it out to Troy.
Troy, how are things looking out there? I know all Florida actually is about to experience some warmer temperatures than normal.
That's right, Jason. Not cold, thankfully, across the Great Sunshine State. But looking at your Florida Southern and Radar, you can see mostly dry across the Great Sunshine State. I-95 from Miami to Jacksonville looking good. And also from I-10 along Jacksonville, Tallahassee, things are looking pretty dry for the time being. And it's illustrated as why is it dry right now in the great state of Florida. Look at your water vapor imagery. You can see where you see these orange colors. That indicates that we have dry levels in the upper areas in the atmosphere. But that's clearly starting to change. I can see that we do have some moisture clearly working its way across the Gulf of Mexico, as indicated by the green colors, and that will be the story going into later in the week, and I'll show you why in just a moment. As far as current conditions are concerned, very mild across the Sunshine State with 70s across central and southern Florida, 72 degrees for a current temperature in Orlando, but a little bit cooler across the I-10 corridor, 65 degrees in Jacksonville, 67 degrees in Tallahassee. But as your dew points are concerned, dew points is a good indicator as how much moisture there is in the atmosphere. And our dew points are starting to inch up ever so gradually, 60s across most of the state of Florida. And when you start to see dew points rising in 60s, and that indicates that we have a little bit more humidity in the increase. And the reason being is that our winds are starting to shift out of the south. And we see that winds start to shift out of the south, that brings in that moisture from the Gulf of Mexico, and that really juices up our atmosphere. And that's going to be the case going towards later in the week, and I'm going to show you that right now with your futurecasts. Now, what's going to be happening over the next couple of days? You see that as I step on the other side of the screen, we do have high pressure anchored off the coast of Florida, and that clockwise flow is drawing out that southerly winds that's bringing that moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. But extending your timeline out to Wednesday morning, high pressure remains in control, and that southerly winds could tips up even further, and we will run the risk for some fog, mainly across the I-10 region. So if you're traveling, especially in the morning along I-10, make sure that you're very careful on the roads, because it could get pretty dangerous, especially with that reduced visibility. But extending your timeline out to Wednesday throughout the day, we'll be baking in these warm temperatures. So really, summer-like conditions will be the main story for the Wednesday day. But beach forecast for tomorrow, not looking too bad. Winds are coming to the southeast at 10 knots, so good beach days weather far as tonight's forecast is concerned, temperatures are running mild across the 60s and a little bit cooler off towards the Big Bend and First Coast region. 50s there in Jacksonville and Tallahassee, and tomorrow's forecast, we crank up those temperatures into the 80s and upper 70s. But let's toss off to Casey with your winter weather.
Thanks so much, Troy. Let's go ahead and take a look at that winter weather forecast. In fact, here on this winter weather update, we see that a big weather story going on is in the north central part of the country, areas near Minneapolis, also just to the west of Denver, in fact, and also Salt Lake City experiencing some snow, some of that even heavy. And in fact, there is a winter storm warning for much of this area. And as you can see here in this pink color, we see the winter storm warning is in effect. Areas such as parts of northern parts of North Dakota, also parts of Minnesota, also the Rocky Mountains west of Denver, Salt Lake City as well. Now, current conditions-wise across the nation, we see that there is temperature not nicer down towards San Antonio, 81 degrees. But as we take our look back up to the north, we see temperatures much cooler, 35 degrees in Minneapolis, in fact, 11 degrees in Billings, and 25 degrees in Denver. Very cool conditions up there. And of course, those temperatures, most of them being under the 32-degree mark, and they are, of course, having freezing conditions in those areas. Now, your temperature change illustrates this very well. We see that in our area, not too much of change. That will start to change as we get into next week. But temperatures to the northwest and in the northwest part of the country, a 31-degree temperature drop in the last 24 hours from what the temperature was at this time yesterday. In fact, a very, very significant drop in temperatures, in fact, and that is being caused by the Arctic air moving back into that area and some snowy conditions as well. Now, luckily, not seeing anything like that around our area, so that's some good news. But now, wind chills. -3 degrees in Billings, just extremely cool. Wind chill combining the wind and the temperature. 14 degrees in Denver, but now in our tying it back toward our part of the country anyway, 73 degrees in New Orleans. Now your satellite and radar showing in the north central part of the country a lot of snow, areas like Salt Lake City, also areas like Billings, some very heavy snow in some of those areas. And it could see quite a bit of accumulation in those areas. Winter storm warning remaining in effect for those areas as well. We see some snow just to the north of Detroit around Alpena, Michigan. In fact, some very heavy snow starting to make its way into that area. Again, nice conditions will remain in our area, though. Not expecting anything like that around here. Now, taking a look at your forecast for tonight, we see that back in our area, we see 56 degrees in Tallahassee. Nice conditions, but make sure you do use those low beams as we will start to see fog form later on tonight. So keep an eye on that very closely. Temperatures much cooler up toward the northwest, -3 degrees in Billings. And tomorrow, 75 degrees in Dallas, 80 degrees in San Antonio. And back in our area, temperatures in the mid to upper 70s. But right now, we'll go ahead and take it back over to the desk with a look at some more winter weather information with Jason and Jay.
Thanks, Casey. Now let's talk right into the winter storms that's going to head up to the Midwest.
Well, as you were seeing before on Casey's the warnings on the screen, most of the northern plains actually were in a winter storm warnings currently.
Yes, they may evolve into an all blizzard, bringing some heavy snowfall and some very cold temperatures.
To give you only a kind of sense of how much snow is dumped, places in Montana, the northern Rockies, have seen already 15 plus inches of snow and expecting at least 6 more inches of snow in their forecast.
Yes, snow is going to be heavily falling over the Midwest.
And as mentioned before in Troy, and then we're mentioning some very slippery conditions, of course, for traveling wise. I'd say travels in the northern plains to the Midwest, it's going to be certainly on a standby, at least going to later night hours.
Yes, but for our sunnier side of things, let's take it out to Ryan, our last local.
Thank you, guys. And a look at the radar, we've got a few showers in the local area, not impacting the immediate capital city limits, but parts of the Panhandle, including Mariana, right around the time zone line, extending up through Bainbridge is where we've got a few light showers still out there. This afternoon, a few extra clouds in the forecast, and those will be patchy in and out with mixes of sunshine. But here we'll take a look at where the showers are right now. Decatur County, Georgia, extending up through Baker County towards Albany. This is where we could see a few sprinkles through the rest of the evening hours, but really once the sun goes down, showers are going to diminish and we'll be left over with patchy fog developing overnight. That's it on the radar, and temperatures right now are mild. We've got temperatures in the 60s, 67 at TLH right now, mostly cloudy skies. Dew points, though, on the rise. Things getting kind of muggy outside, winds out of the south. So we're tapping into some of that moisture off the Gulf of Mexico, and it's just going to keep pumping in for us over the next several days. And these temperatures are only going to rise even more. In the 60s right now, 67 in Tallahassee, 68 in Bainbridge with a few light showers, almost 70 in Marianna at this hour. And the temperatures aren't going to fall all that much. Winds out of the south carrying all this moisture, and that just means that our temperatures can't really fall all that low either. Dew points in the 60s as well. Our temperature will never be any lower than this, but they will fall towards these numbers, and that is when we're going to see the fog develop as these temperatures approach the lower 60s through the evening hours. Across the southeast, a broader look, we've got a heavier batch of showers through northern Georgia into South Carolina, all associated along a warm front moving northward. It's giving us plenty of warm and moist air across the south, and here's the setup. Flow continuing to be out of the south, and we've got cooler air off to the north and west, but it's not going to make it towards our region. And overnight, as this warm front lifts, warm moist air settling across the Big Bend region, and water temperatures off the coast are cool right now. When you get that warm air moving over the cooler waters, well, that's when you get the fog developing. Kind of a big thing for December, typically our foggiest month, if you didn't know that. And temperatures warm will clear out tomorrow with some patchy clouds. As far as rainfall is concerned, well, not a whole lot on the futurecast. Mainly, we're going to be dealing with a mix of clouds and sun. As that fog burns off in the morning, temperatures are going to rise, but a few showers aren't out of the question. Mainly off to the north and west of the Big Bend is where we could see a greater chance for the spotty showers. In the meantime, tonight, 55 degrees again. Temperatures aren't going to fall very much, all things relatively speaking. We were so cold last week, and now we're mild on a mild trend. But as these temperatures fall, fog is going to be an issue. And by tomorrow morning, we could see areas of visibility falling below a quarter of a mile, especially towards the coast. So do keep that in mind if you're an early riser. 79 degrees tomorrow. Again, once the clouds clear off, we could be approaching 80 degrees towards record territory, especially in the southern regions towards Cross City and Perry. Sunshine, most of us all around. Foggy again in the morning, warming up into the 70s and close to 80 by the afternoon, and your 7-day forecast holds much of the same. Now for a final look at some stories with Jason and Jay.
Thank you, Ryan. And we're actually our last story today. We have one event tonight in the Florida State Athletics. The Florida State basketball team is going all the way up to Minneapolis, Minnesota, take on Minnesota.
Indeed. It's going to be 32 degrees, so if you're going out for the game, make sure you stay bundled up. It's going to be a cold one in Minnesota.
I certainly say some alumni, of course, dedicated alumni coming out to the game. The temperature right around game time, 9:30. 32 degrees, so you could be seeing some snow at that time.
Yes, but for Florida, we're seeing some sunny weather, and we'll be taking on Duke over in the southeast on Saturday, so we're definitely looking forward to that one.
Yes, and one more quick question. If any students, of course, want to watch it tonight, it's on ESPNU. Folks, go, of course, support our Knowles. But one more look at our 7-day forecast. Jay, actually, next couple of days looking a little more average, more than average, you can say, temperatures-wise.
Yes, and we're going to see some temperature rain as well, 20% all across the week, except Monday, Tuesday, seeing 30%. But you can like us on Facebook, you can follow us on Twitter, and you can always watch us live on livestream.com/FSU Weather.
That's it for today, folks. I'm student meteorologist Jason Ducker.
I'm student meteorologist Jay Kimball. Have a great night, Tallahassee.